Thanks for joining us, everybody. It's Thursday, January 14th. I'm Trey Crowder, and that's Mark Agee. So, Mark, what did you just say?
So yesterday, I think it was yesterday, Toby Keith and Ricky Skaggs got the Presidential Medal of Freedom from Trump, which occasioned this anecdote of Chris Christopherson absolutely ripping Toby Keith a fucking new asshole from this is from Wilson's 70th birthday concert. So in 2009. So I gather Toby Keith was passing by Christopherson and said something about not too much of that lefty shit, right? Said that to Christopherson. And so Chris confronted him and basically called him a dumbass and asked him if he'd ever worn a uniform and taken up arms for his country, and got into it. And Toby backed down when he realized he was a chicken hawk coward. But anyway, this quote really stuck out to me. Do you know what Waylon Jennings said about guys like him? Christopherson said to Willie.
And what Waylon Jennings said about guys like Toby Keith. Let me answer this, please. Make sure to see if, because I would like to answer this trivia question and see if I get it right. He said about either Toby Keith or DeGarth Brooks or guys like him. Waylon Jennings said something to the effect of, he does for country music what pantyhose have done for finger fucking. Is that what it
exactly
is?
It.
Yeah.
Which is there's a lot baked into that, but
yeah. Well, you know,
can you imagine accepting the Presidential Medal of Freedom this week? This is the same ceremony that Bill Belichick turned down going to.
Right, that's what I was about to bring up. Is that Bill Belichick turned it down, and Bill Belichick's been a long-standing supporter of Trump. Wrote him basically a love letter in 2016, congratulating him on the phenomenal job he's done and all that stuff. So for that guy to have now turned around and turned it down, and I feel like if you know what the Presidential Medal of Freedom is, for contributions outstanding to the culture and whatnot. I feel like with football being America's most popular sport, I think it's hard to argue that Bill Belichick doesn't objectively deserve it if these other people do. And so I'm saying I think that makes it more impactful that he turned it down. So it's been a hell of a week.
Belichick's letter was really funny because the way it was phrased was, the decision has been made to not attend the ceremony. He made it sound like it was total passive voice stuff. So I'm not sure whether he was too cowardly to say "fuck off, want to go," or whether somebody told him he couldn't.
Right.
It was funny, but the president. It's been so cheapened. Would you want the same award that Ricky Skaggs got?
Right. I know that's what I'm saying. Yes, I said when you look at the other people that have got it, Belichick, it's hard to argue that he doesn't deserve it. So listen, anyway, here we are. This is the show. That's me and that's Mark. Listen, we only just found out. It's not his fault. We are without producer Matt tonight, unexpectedly, because not to give away producer Matt's location to all the, insurgent trolls out there that we've got in the audience possibly, but he lives in the Great Plains area, and where he lives, it's apparently coming a full-on blizzard right now, and because of that, producer Matt's Wi-Fi and his whole shit, Mark, is down, which we've only just found out. So Mark and I are producerless for the first time in a while tonight. We're going to do the very best we can. Keep in mind, please, if I get lost along the way, which is likely, I think, I'm trying to be both host and producer, so please bear with me, everybody. But with that in mind, let's do the show. We've got some great stuff tonight. Yes, we've talked about the first impeachment of President Donald Trump on the show before, but what about second impeachment, y'all? Well, here it is. We're going to talk about it, dare I say, revel in it a little bit. Who knows? We've got some other COUP-SEQUENCES from the insurgents last week. It's still ongoing. That'll be fun. And some other fun topics depending on the amount of time we have or the amount of time we can get through with me as the producer. But first, we begin with the Daily Dumbass. I don't have the graphics, so let's just do the Daily Dumbass. Tonight's honoree, thank you, Mark. I appreciate the help. Tonight's honoree is very high-profile figure known by all who has somehow so far managed to avoid being honored in this humble segment of ours. But tonight, I'm thrilled to welcome to the pantheon of Daily Dumbasses on Evening Skews one James Comey. who had this to say about a possible pardon of Donald Trump by Joe Biden. Here we go.
Do you think Joe Biden should pardon Trump as Ford did Nixon?
I don't know. He should consider it. Now, I don't know whether Donald Trump, he's not a genius, but he might figure out that if he accepts a pardon, that's an admission of guilt, the United States Supreme Court has said. So I don't know that he would accept a pardon, but as part of healing the country and getting us to a place where we can focus on things that are going to matter over the next 4 years, I think Joe Biden's going to have to at least think about that.
Do you think
he's going to have to at least think about it, Mark? What do you do you think Joe Biden should at least think about pardoning Donald Trump?
I mean, I've thought about becoming an astronaut. What does it even matter? Like, what does that mean? Like, I'm sure the thought's going to occur to him. But, like, the thing that bothers me about this is, like, James Comey is making the same mistake he made in 2016, 2015, 2017, all the fuck over again. Like, he applies this, like, very amateur understanding of politics to legal decisions, right? It's like he was trying to gauge who would be madder at him, Democrats in the executive branch after they won the presidency, or Republicans in Congress over whether his prosecution is decision whether or not to indict or prosecute or not to drop the case against Hillary Clinton or whatever. He's still doing the same shit over and over again. Whether or not Trump should be convicted of a crime should be contingent upon whether the fact he fucking committed a crime or not. That's the end of it. He's a cop. He's not a politician. So yeah.
Right. Yes, that, and also I just think, like, even, I mean, like you said, he has a very low understanding politically, I guess. But I think even just from a political perspective, I can't imagine anything worse for Joe Biden politically, in my opinion, than entertaining the notion of pardoning Donald Trump right now. Like, to even suggest that, I think, as a, like, oh, well, look, it's something that deserves being thought about, I think is just ridiculous. If you know anything about American politics where we are right now, it's absurd to even bring it up.
Are you saying that bestowing the grace of forgiveness upon Donald Trump wouldn't result in the Republican Party embracing Joe Biden and all that he stands for, and accepting him as a legitimate president that possibly wouldn't do anything but make the left and centrists mad at him?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. That's the other part. First of all, no, it's not going to just magically bring all of the Republicans into the fold. But way worse than that, what would infuriate more the left's base or most Democrats in this country than him doing that right now, in my opinion? Like, it's just ridiculous.
The weird thing is, like, the full-on left probably would be like, yeah, this is what happens. No rich people go to jail. This is what we expect. They all stick together, yada, yada, yada. It's like the centrist liberal resistance liberals and, like, people who've been, like, assuming Trump will go to jail and James Comey was a hero and Robert Mueller was a hero and all this. There's the people who'd be really mad. And that's who Joe Biden's core constituency is. So
Right. All right. Well, we got a couple of honorable mentions for you. This first one here, another clip. Again, going to do my best. I've got it pulled up. We're going to try. Let me set it up for you. Honorable mention. We've talked about senior Georgia correspondent Corey Ryan Forster, his congresswoman. We've talked about her before, about how she's a lunatic, she's a QAnon supporter and all that, which is all true. But she's in the news again right now. Her name's Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she's in the news because she has already declared that on January 21st, the day, is that the day of or the day after the inauguration, Mark?
Day after, it's next Thursday.
Right. The very first full day of Joe Biden's presidency, she is going to formally file articles of impeachment against Joe Biden right out the gate. And I don't know how y'all feel about it, but let's just use this clip to illustrate where she sort of stands on it and the general response to it. Keep in mind, this was on Newsmax, by the way. And this clip taken out of context, sure, the whole clip is very sympathetic to her, obviously, but even I kind of appreciate the way the dude, she announces it and the way the dude asked her this follow-up question, I kind of like. So, and again, I'm sorry that looks small and bad, but we got a producer. Look at this.
How is that going to work? You are a freshman. You're in the minority. What will happen next? Is this symbolic, or can you really do something about this?
Well, like I said, I'm a big believer in having people in office that are actually willing to do the job. And I can't imagine people in this country being so fearful of a future of a Biden presidency that they may be willing to commit violence like they did in the Capitol here in Washington, D.C.
All right. So, and I know I don't have to, tell you or you guys watching, Mark, but like a couple things about that. First of all, she doesn't, of course, doesn't give any kind of actual impeachable offense to it. Later on, she talks about, his son's laptop and all that shit that, of course, they bring up. But also, the first response she does give to it is kind of also just saying, like, if we don't have Donald Trump in the White House, then we're going to keep storming the Capitol and killing cops and blowing shit up, right? Like, that's sort of the implied underlying sentiment there. So, not a great response.
You notice she didn't say comma in case, unless Joe Biden pardons Donald Trump, as James Comey has suggested, in which case we will totally accept Biden's presidency. Right. I mean, she's a fucking lunatic, but she was saying there have been a couple like people that Biden floated to be in the White House who had like registered as foreign agents because they were working for China. Then she's trying to make that into like some like sort of sinister question when in reality it's just how dirty our government is until we clean up campaign finance and the way lobbying works. Because who wouldn't take free money to lobby people on behalf of Chinese technology companies or whatever? You want to give me $1 million to make a phone call? Some guy? No, fuck it, I'll take it. Right? It's not illegal. Make it illegal. Make it illegal. But yeah, she's going to keep doing this, and it's like weird. It's weird the juxtaposition where Nancy Pelosi took a week to impeach Trump for trying to overthrow the government, and Marjorie Greene is going to try to impeach Biden 14 hours into his presidency.
Yeah. All right. Our second honorable mention for Daily Dumbass tonight is the Massachusetts parents who I guess gave 18-year-old Helena Duke a curfew or whatever they did to piss her off because the Massachusetts teenager has turned in her entire family after recognizing them as being amidst the Capitol rioters last week. I say her entire, she turned in her mom, her uncle, and her aunt to the feds for being amongst the rioters, and she said, I felt if I did nothing that would mean I was as bad as them. But before that, there was a video that got passed around of a white lady yelling in the face of a black lady as part of an altercation, and apparently said white lady was this teenager's mom because she reposted that video and said, hey mom, remember the time you told me I shouldn't go to Black Lives Matter protests because they could possibly get violent ... This you, which I really like that that zoomerific use of this you at the end of it, like how there's still memes involved in taking your parents down as for being treasonous insurgents and whatnot.
I'm trying to think of like what kind of crime I would turn my parents in for, and I haven't really thought of one yet.
Well, what about treason? Little treason. If your parents were,
I mean, we're both firmly in camp no snitching, right?
Yeah, yeah. Snitches get stitches. Yes.
In this case, snitches go to bed without ice cream, I think is what's going to happen. I don't really understand their personal dynamic. Obviously, they have political arguments, and I don't know what exactly her mom did at the protest. Maybe if her mom hit the cop in the head with a fire extinguisher, then more power, to the daughter. But she was just, I don't know. They need some family counseling, I think.
Yes. All right. So, okay, getting into the bulk of the show, of course, as we mentioned up top, we're going to start by talking about second impeachment, first one in U.S. history. Mark, won't you tell us how you're feeling about it a little bit while I bring up this clip we have to talk about it?
I think historians 40 years from now are going to have a much clearer view of how bad Trump was than half the country does at this moment. I don't think it's going to be controversial in 40, 50 years to say Trump's one of the worst presidents of all time. By the time we have total counts of dead, and on paper he's been impeached twice, and he's now politically defeated in every sense. Except, I mean, I know he gained a couple seats in the House this time. That's because people ran against him, and he got less votes than the Congress did, than the congressman who won did. So it's pretty resounding defeat, both politically and on the world stage and in the history books.
So on that note, let's play this clip from MSNBC talking about this exact subject, and then we will discuss it further. Here we go. Let me pull this up.
This president will now leave office having lost the House, Senate, and White House, having lost re-election, having lost the popular vote twice. As of today, and as children will be taught in schools for the rest of our days, Donald John Trump of Queens, New York, now becomes the first president in American history to be impeached twice. The man who warned us we would get tired of winning has now lost everything.
There you go. I got to say, that line, just chef's kiss. That's a banger of a line. But I mean, you know, extremely accurate. What else is there to say about it? I mean, when you really line, of course, we are aware of his reverse accolades that he's racked up over the course of his presidency, but when you like line them all up like that in one, it's just very satisfying for me.
Yeah, I mean, and his business is going to be in trouble too. He was probably going to coast to still being rich after this, even though I know the Deutsche Bank loans are coming due and all that shit. But he still had a fairly big business. But like after the coup attempt, a bunch of people are pulling out their leases in Trump Tower and canceling endorsement deals. The people that had stuck with him through until now, like the Girl Scouts canceled all the real estate in 40 whatever Trump's New York office buildings, not Trump Tower, but one of the other ones. Yeah, I imagine he's gonna, like, the last president I think to go broke was Ulysses Grant, and he responded to it by writing the best presidential memoir, which I'm sure Donald Trump's gonna do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Don't you think though that, like, and I don't know if this is like extreme or ridiculous proposition, but don't you think that outside of this country he would have people that would keep him propped up basically if he wanted them to, even going forward?
I mean, once you stop being useful to them, you're not useful to them anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
so that's fair. Yeah,
I know a bunch of people in the Middle East and stuff probably owe him favors, but yeah.
So on the subject of the impeachment, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, Mitch McConnell has already straight up said that the Senate's vote on it, on whether to convict or not, will not happen prior to him leaving office. It will, if it happens at all, because plenty of them are saying, because of that, they're like, well, can we even convict a president who isn't the president anymore? That's the thing that's been broached now. But McConnell's already confirmed whatever vote happens, if it happens, won't happen until Joe Biden has been inaugurated, right?
Yeah, which is like, I guess the thought process is, I mean, people are assuming it's because he's trying to protect Trump or trying to gum up the beginning of Biden's administration by bogging him down. But like, there's 100 people in the Senate and a dozen committees or whatever. They can be doing a bunch of different shit at the same time. And I don't really think, unless the Democrats want to get bogged down in it, then they will. But like, I think also Mitch McConnell will be minority leader at that point. So he will not be able to defend Trump as well as if he had it now. Like, he do the same jig he did last time with no witnesses and stuff. But like if you're the Senate Judiciary Committee holding these impeachment hearings, you're talking about calling a ton of witnesses to make him look bad. People that worked in the White House about his frame of mind. I mean, honestly, like, this could lead to like Howley and Cruz looking like shit. Like it seems to me that McConnell's like, you're on your own, guys. It feels like that's part of it, which is funny to me, but I don't really, who knows his mind. But yeah.
Right. But also, and we talked about previous episode, the idea of him still being tried after he's already left office is still important for other reasons, right? Because there's still implications for what that would mean theoretically if he did get convicted even after he'd already left office. Chief among them, him not being able to run for office again in the future, and other implications like not automatically having Secret Service protection and things like that. It matters whether he's gone or not, is what I'm saying. Not to mention just the justice aspect of it, of seeing someone being held accountable for their actions.
I mean, as far as whether he can be tried after he's out of office, the constitutional lawyers are going to debate that, and it's going to the outcomes. I mean, that's going to be a very academic intellectual argument that I don't really have a full handle on, except that there's other there's a precedent. I mean, the executive branch tried to overthrow the legislative branch, right? Like there has to be like a precedent that when you do that, the legislative branch fucking kicks you in the nuts. Like there has to be,
Right. Yeah.
There has to be like you put one of ours in the hospital, we put one of yours in the morgue. That's the Chicago rules, right? You can't just take this shit because the next president will try it and be like, well, there's no consequences for it. You guys have established this. This is what we do. I send a mob to the Capitol and you guys complain. That's the system we have. But also there's oversight stuff. Like there's a whole White House apparatus that was involved in various degrees of this, and you can hold them all accountable, even the people who aren't the president. You can have hearings and get to the bottom of what actually happened, man.
Right. What do you think is the reasonable expectation for how the Republicans in the Senate will actually respond to it? I mean, because Trump also became the first. He broke the record for most votes of impeachment from your own party, but that was only 10. He got 10 votes from his own party, which is but a minuscule fraction of the total number of Republicans in Congress, right? Like, yeah, it's cool there were 10, but there were a shitload more who did not back the impeachment vote. Is that indicative of what the outcome would be in the Senate, do you think? Or do you think it's more like in the House they knew that they didn't have to or something? What's your expectation if and when it comes to that of how they'll respond, the Republicans in the Senate?
I think you'd see probably 60% of them saying that this is pointless and we should move on. There's nothing to see here. It doesn't affect anything. And then you'll get a couple of 10, 15, 20 show vote. I mean, like when you get to 20, that means it's enough to convict, right? So because you need 67 plus 50 Democrats. Joe Manchin might do something stupid because he's stupid. But I don't know, man. Like it feels like they'd be freed, depending on what happens in the next few months, how strong of a control Trump commands over the Republican base. It seems like he still has a pretty good handle right now. But like the outcome, the one reason you hold hearings and to get people on paper is because the more Republicans rebuke him, the weaker he gets, right? So that's one reason to do it.
Yeah, so that kind of brings us to this thing we talked about in the last episode about Republicans fearing for their lives in regards to a possible backlash from opposing Donald Trump. We talked before about how a lot of them still voted to object to the electoral votes because they're like, well, I thought if I didn't, I was afraid, QAnon Proud Boys would come and kill my family or whatever. And now there's a report that House Republicans have purchased body armor, hired armed security, and altered their day-to-day routine because they are afraid of death threats from those people. And like I said before, like I said in the last episode, I don't know if it's me being too cynical or just disliking these people so much or what, but I cannot help but feel like this is some bullshit excuses making from some of them, like trying to give themselves an out. It's like, well, what was I supposed to do? Like in the future, if they're getting primaried and they're facing, backlash from opposing Donald Trump, it's like, listen, I had to. They had my wife held hostage or whatever, even though they didn't, like the equivalent of that.
But you got the hostage way backwards though. They voted to impeach Trump, even though their family was hostage. Like they did. I mean, I don't think very much of these people politically, but I think what they did was very brave, assuming these threats are true, which I believe, because people stormed the Capitol and tried to kill all of them.
You're right. I'm sorry. I conflated this with the people that still voted to oppose the electoral results or whatever, and they gave the excuse of, oh, my life is in danger. I conflated that with what we're talking about right now, which is, yes, one of the 10 GOP reps who did vote to impeach him said that he did so despite the fact that his life was being threatened. So that's my fault.
No, you're right. They all are. They're all getting death threats. So it works both ways. You're right. There are some cowards who'll say, like, I wanted to impeach Trump, but I couldn't, because they'll say that in the general election, like I was getting death threats. In the primary, it probably won't help them. Because the people get sending death threats to be running against them. But some real fun characters did emerge. Like my favorite guy to come out of all this is Representative Tom Rice, Republican, who voted to reject the Biden electors, but also voted to impeach Trump. So his stance is very consistent. fuck presidents.
Yeah.
Fuck them all.
Yeah, he just don't like presidents, apparently.
He hates president. I don't disagree. Go Tom Rice. But after last Wednesday they installed metal detectors. We talked about this a little bit on Tuesday because the Republicans were making it a constitutional issue, walking around the metal detector. They calling it unreasonable search and seizure, even though they were setting off the metal detector, just kept walking. A bunch of them did that. Madison Cawthorn claims he has been carrying a gun on the floor of Congress, which has been against House rules since the Civil War, where people got shot and got guns pulled on them over slavery. So Pelosi has instituted fine $5,000 for a first offense and $10,000 for a second offense. They're taking it straight out of their paycheck, so it can't come out of campaign funds and shit. So that'll probably get them in line right quick because they make like 170 grand. So by the third offense, you're losing 25 of that. It's a pretty big chunk.
Yeah, because Mark, actions have consequences, and so with that, let's segue into the COUP-SEQUENCES. I'm so proud of myself for that overt and obvious segue that I explicitly called out to the audience, which is one of the things you're not supposed to do.
By the way, if you're just joining us, we have no producer today. We're doing it DIY style, like we did when we first started back in June, July, or whatever, because our producer doesn't have internet. So
yeah, he's caught in a blizzard in the Dakotas. So
that's why we're so low-fi today. But we're making Trey's killing it, guys. Trey's killing it.
I'm doing my best, buddy. So yes, let's move on to the COUP-SEQUENCES as they continue to unfold. So far, approximately 80 cases have been charged and 34 individuals have been arrested in connection with the attack on the Capitol. The FBI has opened approximately 200 subject case files and received about 140,000 digital media tips from the public, which I'll be honest, I almost feel like that sounds low. Like, you know what I mean? When you consider the subject matter, I can't believe they hadn't received literally millions of digital media tips from the public.
I'm assuming that's 140,000 teens emailing the FBI on their parents, like that girl from the Daily Dumbass.
Yeah.
But I also like to think there's 140,000 videotaped confessions uploaded to Parler and Instagram and Facebook, which a lot of these people did because they're fucking idiots. Parler got hacked apparently because Nazis don't know how to do internet security, and all their data got dumped, including videos tagged by geolocation. So every video loaded that day from the Capitol area, FBI can have custody of. I know some private organizations have downloaded it all. They have it, so they'll hand it over if you want an FBI.
Yes, it's like you said, a lot of them self-incriminating, a lot of dumbassery going on there. Another example is Kevin Lyons, who's another Capitol rioter who posted a photo of himself at Pelosi's office. Very surprised to have been apprehended, apparently. When they told him that it had to do with that picture of him in Pelosi's office being traced, he said, "Wow, you're pretty good. That was only up for like an hour." He said, and then it goes way further than just that. The same guy said his social media profiles included a screenshot of a map tracing the route from Lyons' home to the D.C. area, and beside that was a post that read, "I refuse to tell my children that I sat back and did nothing. I'm heading to D.C. to stop the steal." Lyons then was interviewed by the FBI in Chicago, and he acknowledged that he was in D.C., but was evasive about whether or not he entered the Capitol building. But he then stated that he said he 100% guaranteed, even though he wasn't sure if he was in the Capitol, he wasn't admitting he was in the Capitol building, he 100% guaranteed them that no one was damaging anything in the Capitol building. Even though he wasn't in there, he 100% guaranteed that wasn't happening. He further stated that he had a dream, and in the dream he saw a lot of banging on doors, paper being thrown about, and a mob of people.
Yeah.
And was just all around utterly surprised to have been caught in this way. So this is the kind of competency you're working with here, I think.
First of all, I hope to never in my life find myself in a position of saying, "Wow, you guys are good" to a cop. It's not. You can't feel good to be in interrogation room and admit you've been got. But this guy is great. I like the dream sequence thing where he's like trying to do like, hypothetically speaking, if I dreamed I saw some damage, like, but like, I don't know if you have the capability to show up, but a lot of these people are saying that they didn't know they weren't allowed to be there. Which
what the video? If you go ahead, give me just a second, and I'll pull up I'll get the clip you're talking about.
Any video actually was inside the fucking Capitol at this point. It was like everyone got loose at the zoo. People were throwing shit, screaming, setting stuff on fire, chasing cops around like they're playing tag. It was not a situation you could walk into and be like, this seems orderly and like I'm supposed to be here. It just was not that.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, so what you're saying is a lot of them are being like, oh, it's funny because it's kind of like that old Dave Chappelle bit of white people and the cops of that whole, like, I didn't know I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
like a lot of them being like, no, we got swept up in the moment. We thought it was just a protest. We thought it was fine. But what you're saying, Mark, is that any of the footage you see tells a different story, and this is the specific clip you were talking about, I think. Let me play it here.
Yeah, imagine walking in here and be like, this is what's supposed to be happening right now.
Yeah, did you hear that last thing there? He's yelling at the security or cops or whatever it is. You scared now, ain't you, motherfucker? That's what he said. Yeah.
They're trying to close, if you're just listening to the podcast version, they're trying to close these security doors, they're like garage doors coming down, and the crowd is holding them up to keep them from being closed. And a cop gives up on trying to close one and starts to run away, and they throw a chair at him when he screams, "You scared now, motherfucker," at the cop. So, yeah, anybody who says, I didn't know, they're fucking lying.
Yeah, so not only did they know, but also, again, continuing on the incompetence of it, going back to Kevin Lyons earlier, that same guy we were talking about, he sent an email to FBI special agent, and the email stated, quote, "Hello, nice FBI lady. Here are the links to the videos. Looks like podium guys in one of them. Less the podium. Let me know." Let me know if you need anything else, Kevin Lyons.
I couldn't find it for the show, but I found this. There's a screen grab from Parler that was really, really funny. Somebody had posted, "Hi, I'm from the White House Pardons Office. If you need a pardon for your Capitol Hill activities, please send me a list of crimes you think you need pardons for and your name and address." Now, this is obviously a fucking FBI agent who's like, "Let's see how dumb these motherfuckers are."
Yeah. People
will do that. People were responding to it and sending their name and email address and a list of shit they probably need a pardon for. So that was amazing.
The White House Pardons Office. It's like, oh, thank God you showed up. Pardon lady.
To everybody listening right now, I don't want you to get away with any truly heinous crimes, all right? But in case you find yourself in a jackpot that maybe you did something, but you don't really deserve suffer some huge consequences for it. Well, the cop says, "Just tell me what you did, and I will help you out." I'm sure you've seen Law and Order. That is not how that works. They're not.
Another fun thing that's happening, according to anecdotal reports have spread across the internet recently, is single women, young singles in their area, single women in the Washington, D.C. area have been changing their settings on dating apps like Bumble and saying that they're seeking conservatives, impassioned conservatives, and then when guys respond to that and connect with them and send them pictures of themselves at the riot, proving that, how conservative they are then turning them into authorities in the FBI and stuff, which, again, chef's kiss. Been a lot of chef's kiss moments where all this has been concerned. Horrible as it is.
I would not understand responding to a cop pretending to be a White House pardon attorney. I can totally understand falling for a pretty lady.
Right. Yeah.
It seems like something I would actually fucking fall for. Look at this cool shit I did. Look at this picture selfie I took in Pelosi's office. And you're like, oh shit, I thought I was going to get to kiss a lady. Now I'm in jail. But that one was great too. But like I don't think people realize how much of this stuff is easy to track down publicly if you know what you're doing. Like that. Right. The Parley video we showed was dug up by Bellingcat, which if you don't follow them on social media, you should, because they're always doing interesting shit. Now they're either a private, publicly sourced intelligence gathering operation for this nonprofit, for people just interested in publicly minded stuff. Like they're the ones who found the Russian agents who poisoned that dude Skripal in England. They through social media and geotag stuff, they found the Russian agents, figured they're Russian agents because they went to a military academy in Russia like 10 years ago, and they're in the same graduating class. Yada yada yada. It doesn't matter. Like they're either that, but that they crowdsourced information thing, or they're cut out for British and American intelligence the same way WikiLeaks was for Russia. I don't know. Anyway, they do cool shit. But sorry, go ahead.
So will you talk a little bit about Baked Alaska and the other, and I don't mean the blowtorched ice cream dessert prominent in the 80s, although I am a fan.
Yeah.
Talking about noted QAnon or Proud Boys, whatever poster with the pseudonym Baked Alaska, and this growing trend of them seeming to turn on each other or rat each other out.
Yeah, so Baked Alaska is an old school alt-right dude from the dawn of the movement, say 2014, 2015. He's in that mix of dudes like Joey Salads, who ran for Congress and also posted a video on YouTube of him peeing in his own mouth.
Pissing in his own mouth, yes.
Yeah.
Joey Salads.
That Mike Serdovich class of dudes who alternate between pissing in their own mouths and selling brain pills through their websites. Anyway, that's who Baked Alaska is. Anyway, he live streamed a video of himself and Nick Fuentes, who's a leader of one of those white pride groups or whatever, who's big on the internet, in Pelosi's office. Now, he apparently, they're arresting everyone who was on his videos except for him, which is a big sign that he's a cooperator. He's a cooperator, although he's still kind of denying it, but nobody gets why he's been arrested. But also, not only did he turn FBI informant on everybody that was there with him, but he was COVID positive at the time of the riot, which quite possibly makes him the most effective member of the Donald Trump resistance. Yeah. The guy's a germ bomb and a fucking undercover agent. Can't really do it better than him.
Yeah, and then there's another example that's, came out and been discussed recently from these rioters. It's a little bit different. I mean, not any better, but a little bit different that I did want to mention at least briefly. Christine Priola, who's a school therapist. I have children in school. This is a school therapist who stormed the Capitol and got all the way to Mike Pence's office or chair or whatever. The day after the riot, she quit her job and said that, quote, "I will be switching paths to expose the global evil of human trafficking and pedophilia, including in our government and children's services agencies." And the reason I want to bring this up is, again, as a father, Mark, I'm just very alarmed by this, but also know that I think there's a certain type of person, and I think this lady is an example of them, who are particularly susceptible to the underlying foundation of the QAnon conspiracy theory. Do you know what I mean? Meaning that because it focuses on the children in particular, and that's what it comes down to. I think there's a particular type of person who can be roped in, all the way roped in, when they otherwise maybe wouldn't have if it was a conspiracy theory about just Vietnam vets or 9/11 or whatever. But because it had QAnon has this underlying protect the children thing going on, I think that kind of widens its net for a certain type of person.
Oh, for sure. There was there have been articles written about it. Ben Collins, who's an online disinformation reporter, who Matt and a producer I both read a lot of, but he works for NBC News. But he wrote an article about this, using how Instagram was sucking in regular suburban moms via the Save the Children hashtag. Who doesn't want to help children, right? But then you go 2 degrees further, and now you're believing in lizard people and blood drinking,
right?
Right. So I'm not really, who knows when people pull out of it. She obviously didn't pull out of it, and she quit her job before she got fired because you can't do a coup while you work for a school district, I imagine.
Right. Well, I'll tell a very short anecdote. It's directly related to this without giving any details away. Obviously, I met through my wife a woman who she knew very casually, like an acquaintance of my wife I met a few years ago. And it was shortly after my liberal redneck videos had just gone viral. And I met this lady through Katie, and this lady was very excited to meet me, Mark, as you can imagine, and she was a huge fan of my videos, which are extremely partisan, extremely political, and all liberal in nature, and she liked them a lot. And Katie has since told me that now she's full on QAnon all the way down the rabbit hole, completely lost in it based on her like Facebook posts and stuff, which that's insane to me. But you know, it does happen. They'll get you. They'll get these people, man.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? You might just be in the process of figuring it out. But like, when social media was only invented like 12, 13 years ago, and we're doing this mass experiment in social psychology with no control group, and I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Here in just a few minutes, I'm going to try. I'm going to attempt to get into the comments and questions myself. Again, normally producer Matt does that. I'm going to do my best, try to do that while continue talking to Mark. So
I will. Thanks to my Aunt Kim. She found the parlor screen grab. I'm not sure where she found it at, but she had it handy. But and it's even funnier that I remember because it says, what crimes do you think you need to be pardoned for? And the briefest explanation of why you think you need the pardon, e.g., trespassing, entered the Capitol, theft, stole art from the Capitol, assault, et cetera, et cetera. So it gives you prompts for examples of crimes you might have committed.
So you can just literally outline to the letter every little treason that you committed or whatever.
And, as any good scam does, it has a ticking clock on it, and they might says, "Well, this deal expires at midnight if you don't buy this car now." You know, so the president needs this list by Tuesday before the House votes to impeach again. You get your name to the president now. If you want this 10 CDs for a penny, you got to respond by Tuesday the 14th.
So, yes, again, in just a minute, I will tackle the comments and questions to the best of my ability. Let us know how you're feeling about the impeachment round 2 or the coup, any of that good stuff, and I'll see what I can do. But first, I did not want to get through this episode without at least mentioning this story because it has to do with turlets, porta potties, Mark. Big fancy ones. Actually, it's not that fancy. If y'all don't know, Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner refused to allow their Secret Service agents, the people guarding their lives, to use any of their, I believe, 6 bathrooms that they have. Yeah, at their primary house in the swankiest part of the Washington, D.C. area, because they will not let them use their bathroom, any of their bathrooms. The Secret Service had to try other options so that their boys could poop, guys and gals could poop while in the line of duty or pee. And so what they did was they, at first, for a little while, they were literally using one of the Obama family's bathrooms.
Yeah.
Using a bathroom in a house owned by Obama.
Yeah.
They put a porta potty out on the street or right by the street in this swanky ass neighborhood. So obviously that didn't fly.
Yeah,
the equivalent of
the neighbors complained about that because they apparently they hate the Trump Kushner family anyway because they're big dicks in the community, but they blocked the sidewalk with a porta potty for a while. So the neighbors are like, "What the fuck, man? You won't let me use your toilet? Now we gotta smell shit. We're walking our dogs, and we can't even walk down that sidewalk. So do something."
So the ultimate solution that was decided upon, and this a while ago now, was that the Secret Service, the U.S. government, the American taxpayer, would rent a space. It's a basement apartment basically in this swanky neighborhood, just so the Secret Service could pee and poop in it. The cost of that, $3,000 a month. To date, over $100,000 of taxpayer funds, literally only and directly because Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner will not let the people guarding their lives use any of their 6 bathrooms. So yeah, they're going to fare really well in the fallout of all this, I think.
I understand it's probably a pain in the ass having Secret Service protection, having people all up in your business, hearing all your marital fights and all your fucking dumb shit. Everything you say to each other, it probably sucks. Also, this thing where you make the help enter through the back and use a separate bathroom, I just can't wrap my head around in any instance, much less the people who are armed with bulletproof vests whose job is to take a bullet for you, who on their downshifts riding in the back of an SUV with automatic weapons, and they come to you and they're like, my stomach hurts. You're like, sorry, man, shitter's full.
Yeah.
I can't process it, man. Can't process it. They're just all around bad fucking people. And their excuse when this story was being written, what they said was it wasn't their decision. The Secret Service voluntarily decided they did not want to deign to use Ivanka and Jared's bathrooms, and they don't know what happened next. Although I don't know how you missed the porta potty in front of your damn house.
Yeah. So all right, looking through the comments, I saw one, it flew away immediately. It says from Rachel Barlow Flowers, who, if it's the same one, I kind of grew up with Rachel. I've known her since we were like fucking 14 years old. So if it's the Rachel I think it is, hey girl, what's up? I ain't seen you in forever. And she said, trust me, Trey, people back home have gone completely conspiracy crazy around here. And I'm sure that's probably true. It's really upsetting to me, like, I don't know, because I'm not godly at all. I'm the opposite. So to me, I always felt that the Bible and all that was ridiculous, how these people believe all this, but I came to understand culturally how that could happen. But I'm saying even my godless ass has trouble wrapping my head around regular people like who I know or whatever buying into this type of thing, even after a lifetime of sort of conditioning myself for it, is what I'm trying to say.
You're saying, I mean, I've read that stuff before about how like conspiracy theories are just a different kind of religion because you want to believe someone's in control, right? That like the bad things that happen are happening for a reason, and they're going to come out to the other side with like better off somehow. That's what you're saying, that like it's sort of the same sort of belief system.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to say that. I'm saying that like I grew up looking around a lot of people and be like, I don't know how they believe this crazy bullshit. And then later I became less of an edgelord or whatever. And it was like, okay, I do understand how they could believe that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like I conditioned myself at an early age to not be surprised by people believing what I thought to be crazy bullshit. And I am still surprised by the QAnon stuff is what I'm trying to say. Like with with the same people, like people I grew up with and whatnot.
I think these people have always been with us, but like, I think it's just easier to connect with Facebook groups than it is through like AM radio and zines and stuff, right? It just allows you to spread your message further so you grow faster and you reach each other and you reinforce your own belief. This isn't an original observation, but like, I sort of like, understand, like, accepting that things just this fucked up and no one's in control is really hard. I say as a person who like sort of lost my faith at like 16, 17 years old after a lifetime of Bible school, and like it's just like, but once you accept it, like things are just fucked up and they're just that way for a reason, then everything sort of like falls into place. It's just like, but how do you explain a society where like roughly 90% of people are in favor of stricter gun control and it never happens? So like, what do you? How your brain starts going like, well, somebody must be holding it up. There must be someone secretly in control because this obviously isn't a democracy, right? Same thing with Medicaid for all or whatever. It's like it's just like we have a sclerotic government that can't even fucking confront a pandemic. So like, if the government won't try to stop the pandemic, obviously the government's in favor of the pandemic. Now you're off to the races, and now you're gonna hear conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, man. No, I'm with you. All right, Charles Scraw says people are, all caps, far more stupid than we ever realized. And
I realized, Charles. I think I realized.
See, I'm with Charles on this because, and I still think there's some truth to this, but I used to have this, I had this bit I would do on stage forever that was talking about how annoyed I would get with people talking about how much dumber we've gotten as a society. Like people being like, Idiocracy, turns out it's a documentary. And I'd be like, no, it's not. Because I was like, statistically, we are on average and per person smarter than, and the joke, it was a good bit, Mark, however you feel about this, because the joke was like, do you know how stupid people fucking used to be? Like, they believed in fucking witches and shit like that. We're smarter than them, which I still think that is true, but I'm saying I am now starting to feel like, for the first time in my life, oh shit, maybe we are actually dumber than I thought, or getting dumber than I thought we were, you know. And I always felt like that was kind of like bullshit that seemed easy to say before but wasn't really true. And I don't know that I believe that anymore.
In the Salem witch trial days, back in the original colonies, when they caught a dude fucking a sheep, they would the dude would get put in stocks, of course, because you ought not be doing that, especially if it's not your sheep. But they would kill the sheep to prevent there from being sheep-human hybrid babies being born.
Right. Sheeple. Hey, well, they failed. Am I right, Mark? Look around you, man. How many sheeple do you see out here every day, Mark? Obviously, they should have had stricter sheep baby security protocols back then.
So what I'm saying is I agree with your premise that we know more than they did, but only kind of. And only in certain ways. Like, we have access to more information, but the way people apply it is not necessarily smart.
Yes. That is exactly where I have finally landed, is what you just said. That, we have more cumulative information as a society now than any other previous generation ever has, because of course we do. And so that makes us know a few more things, but on a human-to-human basis, like you just said, the way people use and apply that information, I'm not convinced it's any more intelligent on average than your typical, mud farming peasant serf in the 1200s or whatever.
I mean, they literally knew everything they needed to know. They knew how to grow mud. That was the
grew the best mud, man. Back then, everybody knows it. Michael T says QAnon is trailer park Scientology, which I just thought was funny, so I put it up there.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah. Oh my God! You know what? I have a greater appreciation. I've always very much appreciated producer Matt, but this is like, and I'm so glad that it is this difficult, because back early on in the show, I used to do this every episode, but I haven't done it for a long time, and we have, thank you all very much, gotten more viewers and commenters since then, and this shit is really hard to keep up with, just so y'all know. I'm not purposefully ignoring any of y'all. It's just, it's hard. It's hard for me to keep, I can't do two things at once, I'm a big dumb idiot. Let's see here. Mark, I like this. I just grabbed it. Mark, do you know what this is? Linda Knapp says, you guys ever look at the Powell memorandum? Might be worth a few minutes of your time. Do you know?
Never heard that. Powell memorandum.
Well, I always like to try with Mark.
The first, Lewis Powell, member of corporate blueprint to dominate democracy. Okay, well, I feel like we're going to go down a rabbit. This is on Greenpeace's website, so I guess it's not too crazy. Although a lot of people think Greenpeace is crazy. I don't. What do they do? They just drive in front of whale ships to stop them from killing whales.
Okay, hold on. All right.
I saw a comment ask about Trump being booted off social media and what we thought about that. So the big constitutional questions of it, I kind of don't think about too. It's just one guy being booted off. I don't the president of the United States still has a huge microphone. He can talk. He can still speak. People had freedom of speech before there was the internet. I don't really think it's some huge big fucking deal. I think it's really funny, as big of a Twitter addict as he is, to know he's in a kind of.
I don't know. I was thinking about that earlier too. I mean, I think that the most diehard people will find him no matter what. You're right. He still has a platform right now just from being the president of the United States. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's going to have a pretty huge impact going forward if it's very, very difficult for him to have any kind of, actually popular platform that people really use. And I know his people will find him wherever he goes. He could just set up his own thing and be like, meet me here. And I know a lot of them will. But I mean, I still think it has a pretty big impact at the end of the day. I feel like it has to.
I mean, it definitely squashes. I was too. They're asking whether or not we think it's kosher, and I don't
Okay.
I think a lot of mixed thoughts about it. Like I don't know. It's not Twitter's fault we fucked up and elected him president. And I understand why Twitter's like people have been calling for him to be taken down for like the last 4 years, and it's like we can't delete the president's account, man. It's like it's not on Jack from Twitter that Trump's president. Like we did.
That's definitely true for sure.
But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, since just the whole, ever since it's not an equivalent example, but the gay capes keep getting brought back. It just seems like this is a very free market or anti-free market argument that they are making. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like this is a big free market corporation at the top of their heap, and they are choosing to not do business with a person because they are not regulated to do otherwise. And you're pissed off about that, hardcore small government Trump supporter. You know what I mean? What's supposed to happen? The government is supposed to intercede with Twitter and say that they can't do that and make sure that they don't do that, because that sounds, I don't know, communist or whatever to me.
That would be a violation of the First Amendment to tell Twitter what speech they can and cannot allow on their platform. And the gay wedding cake thing is like being an asshole loudmouth isn't a protected class of people, whereas being
that's why it's not the same thing. Exactly. Yes, there's actual protected classes of individuals. If you're born a certain way, that shouldn't be held against you by anybody. But your thoughts and opinions and all that type of shit, people can choose not to do business. They can choose not to fuck with you, whether they're an individual person or a business. They can just say, you know what? No. Based on your thoughts.
As a couple of guys who have definitely been kicked out of bars.
Yes.
That's based on behavior, and you can be asked to leave a private business because of your behavior. If it was because we were gay or black or a woman or whatever, you can't do that. But that's different from if you're doing something to make people miserable besides just sitting there being yourself, then you get to leave places. Twitter's no different than your ex-wedding in that regard.
Yep. So this has been up here for a minute. Tracy Martinson says, I had to stop saying, quote, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because it just gets topped constantly. And yeah, I know. I hear you. Well, I also have to, forever ago in the comments, but I remember who said it, because it was God damn it, Treehouse Yoga Center or something like that. And it said, how high are y'all? I don't know about Mark, but I think Mark's doing Sober January, but I'm not high at all. If I'm continuously doing like, shit, then I apologize. But it's only because I'm struggling to keep up wearing two hats at once. But we are not high, but I appreciate being called out for it by the Treehouse Yoga Center. The yoga tree people or whatever it said. It was something like that. Thank y'all for watching. Let's see here. God damn it.
Parler was a more interesting case to me, because what happened to them was they were being hosted on Amazon Web Services, and Amazon decided that we don't want to host you anymore. And Amazon's pretty much controls the whole internet, which is like, look, if you want to talk about how there's too much corporate control over a lot of stuff, I'm on board with that. But to say there's too much corporate control over just social media, and that's the only problem we have with corporations, is fucking stupid to me.
Right. And, I agree. And also, on that note, and this is kind of related to the comment we just brought up here, JJ on the tube says, maybe entire sections of our society aren't smart enough to handle social media. And the way I say it's kind of related to the Parler thing is, according to the founder of the Pirate Bay, which if you don't know is like a big torrenting service where people can illegally download music and movies and stuff like that, that has been in operation for like a decade or something now, and they're illegal. They've been shut down over and over again. That guy came out publicly and basically said, look, just so you know, it's fucking embarrassing that Parler can't find a way to stay up despite this shit. Like, there's no excuse. Like, oh, it's illegal, so what? Look at us, you dipshit. I just liked that particular shade being thrown from that particular source. It just made the whole thing funnier to me. Like, it was just like pointing out, like, just so you guys understand, here's another way in which they are stupid.
Yeah. I mean, anyways, watch the last 4 years of the White House. Like this movement does not draw the most competent together people. So every aspect of it is always amateurish and slapdash and just trying to extract a quick profit. And it's like that's all it ever is. No one's ever thought 2 steps ahead, and they always lose because of it.
Buddy, speaking of amateurish and slapdash, great word, by the way. Thank you all for being with us through this particular episode of this podcast.
You did great, man.
As we went we went producerless. I appreciate y'all's patience. But that is it for tonight. We will be back next Tuesday. Who knows what will have happened in the interim. Thank you all very much. And hopefully we'll have producer Matt back next week. See you, love you, bye.